Hi everyone, Griffin again, game director and lead designer for Master of Command 7 Years War. If you like what you see today, don't forget to give our game a wish list and follow on Steam. It's the best way you can support the project. You can also join our Discord, which is linked below. I'll also be answering questions provided to us through our Discord throughout today's video. And as stated in our last devlog, everything you see here today is in alpha, and there will be many visual placeholders. Last devlog, you guys learned about combat in Master of Command. Today, I want to show you the campaign system. First, I'd like to explain the ideas behind our campaign design. For this project, we took a completely different approach to what you'd normally see in most historical strategy games. You are not an omnipotent ruler who oversees the nation's economy, diplomacy, military, and technology all simultaneously. Instead, you're a commander, and your army is what you oversee. Instead of managing a supply of food to feed your nation's population, you manage food to feed your army. Instead of investing money to expand infrastructure, you invest money to expand and grow your encampment. Your officers are your governors, and your army is your nation. Voltaire famously said, "Where some states have an army, the Prussian army has a state." We're aiming to deliver a polished and focused campaign experience about what it's like to manage and provide for an army in the 18th century, and to take command in epic battles with troops and officers that you build a strong sense of attachment to. The game is personal, and it is challenging. So now, let's get into what the player first does when starting Master of Command. When beginning a new campaign, players can select from one of 5 nations: Prussia, Austria, Russia, Britain, and France. Each nation begins the game with a unique stratagem. Stratagems are strategic perks that greatly impact your playthrough. For example, the Prussian national stratagem is titled Junker Aristocracy. Your artillery will gain much less experience, but officers are all recruited at a higher level. Another example is the Russian stratagem Extended Supply Lines. Your army goes through its provisions 50% faster, but you passively gain manpower throughout the entire course of the campaign. Every national stratagem comes with a bonus and a penalty. But that's not all that sets each nation apart. When you select your nation, you will be prompted to select from 3 different army compositions. Each army composition also comes with an additional stratagem that defines what makes that army unique. Cantonist levies come with the Canton System stratagem, which automatically supplies manpower anytime you visit a village for the first time. The Freikorps volunteers boost your campaign speed by 20%, but your force suffers a passive attrition rate of 1% every day. And finally, the Old Corps makes heavy infantry upgrades much cheaper, but the experience gained for the army as a whole is slowed down by 10%. Each army composition, besides the first one for each nation, must be unlocked by completing challenges during campaigns. For example, to unlock Russia's Cossack contingent, perhaps the player may need to complete a full campaign while only utilizing cavalry. We'll go more in depth regarding army compositions and challenges in a future development log. For now, let's jump in as the Prussian Cantonists and begin a new campaign. Campaigns in Master of Command are procedurally generated, meaning that everyone's 7 Years War will play out in a different manner. I've restarted my campaign 3 separate times just to show you the different options I'm given with each generation. How this system works is that players will be given 3 theaters to fight in, anywhere across Germany. Each theater comprises 2 choice regions and 1 theater headquarters region. The theater headquarters is fought over once one of the choice regions is taken. My army cannot be in 2 locations at once, so I must choose whether to confront a Russian force stationed in Western Pomerania or Lusatia, before I then have the opportunity to push out a Russian headquarters within East Prussia. We received a question from Union Raptor on our Discord who asks if the size of the enemy theater headquarters changes based on how many casualties you inflict in previous regions. The answer to that is no. The difficulty in MoC is very consistent. That means if you're winning, the game will not punish you by spawning more armies for you to fight, or reward you by reducing the amount of enemies you encounter. When deciding on which region to start in, you can select between each region and read the modifiers and terrain that are displayed. The terrain of regions are always consistent, so anytime you fight in Lusatia, for example, there will always be foothills and forests as dominant terrain features. However, the modifiers in the area are always completely random. For this campaign, I need to decide whether to fight in an area with a provincial barracks, meaning I'll have some more opportunities to recruit infantry, but the region is blockaded and items are more expensive. Or I can go to Western Pomerania, where there is a military academy with more officers, but plundered towns that reduce the amount of items available to purchase. I'm going to start with Lusatia. Now, my army has arrived in the region. Regions you enter are made up of procedurally generated terrain. This means it is impossible to build a rehearsed route in which you know the optimal path to towns and villages and your objective. You may also notice that this map looks a lot different than our initial concept, which was originally turn-based. It is now fully real-time, just like the battle system. The objective within each region is to knock out the army headquarters stationed there. This headquarters starts out at a low strength, but grows over time. My army may seem capable enough to take them on now, but by the time I get there, they will likely grow to my equivalent strength or higher. Therefore, it is wise for me to stop at a few populated areas and levy troops. I may also want to take on some smaller skirmish battles for my army to gain experience and collect loot that I can sell at towns and villages. The terrain on this map matters, as roads will let me move faster, but forests may make me slower and reduce my vision. Mountains will also reduce my speed, but will actually increase my vision. There are also winter campaigns which will have even more extreme terrain conditions and less food for purchase, making them more of a logistical challenge. Anima on our Discord asked us how the supply system is going to work. Unlike in our previous game, Fire and Maneuver, you are not managing a network of several armies. Instead, there is no discernible frontline and your army travels independently. That being said, food is constantly consumed by the army every day, and depending on the terrain your army is stationed in, they may require additional provisions, such as moving uphill or within mountainous terrain. Stopping at the first town, I have options to purchase 3 different manas: food, manpower, and ammunition. Currently, I'm a little low on manpower, so I'll start off by purchasing some. Then, I'll head over to recruitment and pick up an additional cantonist. If I check my camp, I only have room for a single division, so I'll need to save up some money to open a second division in order to deploy my new recruits. We will go into further depth about customization in a future development log, but players here can actually alter the appearance of their troops and the flag that they carry into battle. You may also rename regiments. Val from our Discord asked us if you can modify your artillery poundage. In MoC, you can equip weapons and items to regiments. For artillery, this includes different types of cannons. An example of an item that could be equipped to any of your regiments are canteens, which can help boost this regiment's stamina in battle. Before finding an enemy army to do battle with, I have stumbled across an in-game encounter. These are random events that can be triggered by investigation. While investigating a broken caravan, it looks like I've found some supplies to pick up. There is always a risk, however, that this could be some kind of ambush. But lucky for me, I looted the supplies and got away. Now to find an army. Here, I've spotted an enemy force. I can either flee or fight them. In this case, I want to take the battle in order to give my troops their first taste of combat. We'll go into more depth about ways we've improved our battle system in a future devlog, but something new that I would like to show you quickly is our new formation dragger. In the previous devlog, it was a bit clumsy to form battle lines. Now, it's easier and customizable. And yes, the density of the lines that you draw will have an impact on those troops' firepower, speed, and morale. After winning the battle, my men have gained their much-needed experience. I've also captured some loot, and I get to decide what to do with the prisoners. It also looks like my division commander, Heinrich August, is ready to receive his first leadership trait. We'll show this off in more depth later, but officers will develop traits through combat experience that will boost the performance of the men under their command. Officers may also die in combat, so it may be wise to keep them in the rear, but they provide bigger morale buffs to a larger amount of troops the closer they are to the front line. My recruits may now also be upgraded. Instead of having to delete units to make room for better ones, in Master of Command you can simply promote your troops down a unit tree. We'll show off all of the unit trees for our factions in a future devlog. But for now, I've managed to upgrade my recruits to proper musketeers. I also have enough money to open my 2nd division and place my new recruits there. 2716 Caesar on the MoC Discord asked us how the casualty system will work. So after the battle I recently fought, the losses I sustained are permanent. It's very clear to a player. If you have 100 men standing out of a regiment of 1,000 at the end of the battle, that is exactly what you get when you return back to camp. However, some of those casualties are considered injuries and are returned back to you through your manpower pool. It is your job to refill your regiments after they've taken losses, and if necessary, visit more towns to pick up additional manpower reserves. Once my army is strong enough, I can take on the regional headquarters. If this fight is won, I get to choose a new stratagem to keep for the rest of this entire playthrough, which will stack with my faction and composition stratagems. Through stratagems and officer traits, players can develop a very particular playstyle, but because these rewards are always selected from a random pool, players also need to learn to adapt to what they're given and try new strategies. That's everything I have to show off for today. Hopefully you liked our unique approach to Master of Command's campaign system. It was built specifically for replayability in mind, and with 15 unique army compositions across Prussia, Russia, Britain, Austria, and France, it means you could easily spend over 100 hours mastering each of these armies across varied and dynamic campaign playthroughs. If you end up liking one particular composition, we're also planning on letting players continue after winning all 3 theaters within a campaign to conquer the rest of the map. Let us know in the comments below what part of our game you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to wishlist and follow on Steam.